welcome back to another video on my channel. Today we're doing another super special video. My sister's birthday is going to be on February 17th. I know when I'm filming this I'm going to be late on my normal upload schedule, but I wanted to upload something closer to the actual day of her birthday, and hopefully I achieved that. Sometimes I'm not very dependable when it comes to sticking to my video schedule, but you know, it's all going to work out. So basically, I'm going to be making another video that's similar to what I made for my brother and the one I made for my mother, where I basically talk about Adrienne's role in the Pokemon universe, and I try to construct a narrative based on Pokemon she's picked. Just for clarification, when I had my brother and my mother do this, I assume, right, but I can safely assume that they don't really dive into like the Pokedex entries or anything like that, or know like deep lore behind these things. And for me, it's really interesting to kind of piece together a narrative or like see how their choices reflect them in their personality. And I think this team, for the most part, is very much built around personality, more so than the other two. So I sent my sister the same random Pokemon favorite link that I sent to my brother and my mother. I will also put it in the description if you'd like to do it yourself. But it's basically an AI that gives you your top. You can do top whatever, but I make them do their top 6, like a full Pokemon team, based on which preferences you have, which ones you pick over other ones most often, right? And when Adrienne did this, she got a team that was exclusively Ghost and Psychic Pokemon. So this was a lot of fun, and even though she's got a very monolithic team, I don't know if I would label her as an NPC like I did my mom. You'll see. I have a whole narrative plan. You'll see. But basically, her team, based on her favorite Pokemon, are Duskull is number 1. And I knew that one already. She did not do her spirit Pokemon just yet. But I'm sure one of these might pop up as her spirit Pokemon, but I know Duskull for sure was her favorite. So Duskull's number 1. And then after that, we have, I believe, Haunter, Mewtwo, Gengar, Mischievous, and no, right? And this team's a little bit cheating because there are 2 very mythical or legendary Pokemon or whatever on this team, but they fit into the story and they make sense, so that's why we're keeping them on here. And I told her right when she said it to me, I said, hey, you cheated, but she just giggled and said, whatever, I want my team to be stacked. So that's how it is. For Adrienne's story, I think we're going to start off in Hoenn the same way we did with my brothers. Obviously, I mentioned the fact that my mom has a Kanto team, but our parents got divorced, and in real life our parents did get divorced, and then we had to move. We didn't move very far. We literally moved like around the block. But you know, I think for the sake of this, we're going to move to the Hoenn region. And I mentioned before how Garrett picked Trico. Garrett would probably pick Trico, and I would probably pick Mudkip, and Adrienne would probably pick Torchic. And I think although like she does admire other types of Pokemon as well, I think like for this story, you know, she went off and did the basic trainer thing, right? And she was going around Hoenn to try to, you know, go through just the normal routine of like, you know, just catching Pokemon, being a Pokemon trainer. But nothing really stood out or really like piqued her interest. She was just kind of going through the motions and realized that like this might not, you know, just saying like, okay, is this it? You know what I'm saying? Until she gets to Mount Pyre, where there's like this certain like sort of spooky-ish mystery afoot. This is the first time she actually runs into a Duskull, and she falls absolutely in love with this Pokemon. Duskull is a like baby Grim Reaper kind of thing, and if you read its Pokedex entries, it actually like it will go after kids who don't listen to their parents and basically spirit them away. And if you're reading that like as a direct English translation, you might not know what that means. but when someone's spirited away, it means that they, their soul goes on to the afterlife, right? It means that they die and they just kind of go. But a lot of ghost Pokemon have scary entries like that. So like, let's get started. Like, if you haven't heard this before, ooh, you're gonna hear a lot of it today. And I think this is a real fun pick for Adrienne because, okay, first of all, Spirited Away was one of our favorite movies growing up, especially hers. I remember we saw it in theaters with my dad. My dad was kind of into anime, like low key, and before we really knew what anime was, and we went to go see Spirited Away in theater, and like my mom absolutely hated it, but my sister like absolutely loves this movie, and she even has a tattoo of No Face on her arm. Like that's how much she loved that movie, and she has talked about getting other like tattoos from that movie too. Um, but it's one of her favorite movies, so it's like to hear that literal Spirit Away translation is like a good nod, and I think No Face's mask and Duskull's kind of looks similar enough. And it still has that same kind of cartoony vibe. But in addition to that, like just hearing the idea that like misbehaving kids or kids who don't listen to their parents are taken away. Obviously, like my sister, obviously like we don't want her to die or whatever, but Adrienne is a very rebellious person. She's got a very like she's the kind of person, if you tell her to do something, she will do the direct opposite, even if she knows it's not in her interest. It's just because she doesn't want to be told what to do. And she's got her own stubbornness about her that way. So like everything about her essence is literally rebelling against like parents or somebody, if it's not society, it's somebody else. And like having this be her favorite Pokemon, I think is beautiful because it shows like this partnership that keeps her in check. Like at least that's what in my head is, that like this Pokemon is meant to like, you know, like it's okay to be edgy, it's okay to be different, it's okay to be an outsider, but to not like let that lead you down a self-destructive path. And I think Duskull would work as that symbol for her. Like it's just so perfect and it's adorable and it's perfect. So basically, she finds Duskull in Mount Pyre. It's the only place in the Hoenn games you can find Duskull, and Mount Pyre is basically a giant. Oh, it's a mountain, but it has like a Pokemon gravesite inside. And there's this old couple that lives there that has like the red and blue orb in the game, which is like what you need to reawaken the legendary Pokemon, right? So there's this air of mystery about it, and also this like spooky ghostiness or whatever. And it's a mimic to like Lavender Town, right, in the previous games. And so Adrienne's there and she's like meeting these old people and talking to them about these legends and like all these spooky Pokemon, and something finally clicks for the first time. Like, oh my goodness, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. I don't want to go on this traditional trainer's journey. It feels too like stepping stone for me. I want to go out and I want to look for things I don't understand. I want to go out and look for things that not only pique my interest, but help me understand like other realities, I guess. And that's going to be like the theme of her team. So in order to do that, she starts off with like the first other mystery place she can really think of, which is like looking in her past and like seeing us living in Kanto. She remembers the fact that Lavender Town is very similar to Mount Pyre and it has its own mysteries within it. So I think that she decides to go pay. I'm assuming Dad still lives in Kanto. That's like going to be the narrative right now. If it's not, I'll change it later. But I think she goes and visits Dad in Kanto, and which is also kind of fitting because like even after the divorce, I think she was probably the closest one to Dad for a very long time, and maybe she still is. That I mean, we all have a complicated relationship with each other, and I don't want to put anybody's tea on blast, but I know she was more sympathetic to him than I was for sure. And so she goes and visits him, and while she's in Kanto, she goes to Lavender Town and goes through like the Pokemon Tower. As I said before, and I'm sure a lot of you guys know, the Pokemon Tower in Lavender Town is notorious for being a large grave site, where there's this mysterious Pokemon that's just like a misty thing, and like you can't get into a certain part unless you have the what is it? It's not slip scope, might be, but it's special like goggles to see past to see what it really is, right? So at this point in time, we're gonna pretend like red doesn't exist, and we're gonna pretend like it's just Adrienne's kind of thing, and she just wants to go solve this mystery, right? So she's there, and I think when she's there, she obviously you can encounter Ghastly, and all that in the tower, and I think she spends a large amount of time in Lavender Town trying to figure this out, hence where she can get the Haunter and Gengar from. And in order for Gengar to evolve, you need to trade it, and Gengar was also on Garrett's team. So maybe instead of Mom, because previously in the first video, I said that Mom was going to trade Gengar over to Garrett. Maybe we can flip that and either have Adrienne trade Gengar to Mom to give to Garrett, or to trade between the two of them. Because I think Gengar, even though I just described why I think it's okay for Garrett, I think Gengar is important for Adrienne in a different context. About like Gengar and Haunter as a set, like they're the original ghost Pokemon, so it's pretty hard not to like have a ghost Pokemon video and not talk about them or not pick them, and they're very iconic. Like, you know, Gengar I think is one of the most popular Pokemon, like, period. And they're very edgy, but like I don't know if you guys remember the episode where Ash was trying to beat Sabrina, and like, maybe was it that one? There's an episode in the original Kanto anime where like basically Haunter and Gengar are chilling watching TV, and like they're playing pranks on people, and they're just being ridiculous and like really really mischievous, not necessarily evil. And that's the kind of team I picture for Adrienne. It's like, yes, there's like these edgy Pokemon, but they have this like playfulness about them and like rambunctiousness, and like they just kind of want to punk with people, which is also Adrienne's personality too. Like not like where she wants to be like dramatic or anything, but she's very like, I don't know, she has comebacks and stuff, you know what I'm saying? Like she's like the kind of person that doesn't really instigate malice, but she's not afraid to throw it out if need be. So Haunter's Pokedex entry talks about the fact that like if it licks you, like you're gonna die pretty much. And for me that's really comical. Like I know its tongue is supposed to be something that's scary or whatever, but for me it's like a twisted comical aspect. And Gengar I think is more poignant because Gengar obviously has like this encapsulating theme of like being in the shadows and lurking in the shadows, and like in the Pokedex entries it talks about like if it's in your shadow and you feel a chill, that means it's about to pop up and get you. It's like very focused on prey and consuming prey, and lots of scary stuff, but also references that Gengar can, like, because it can pass through walls and stuff, has this like interdimensional quality about it. And even like its mega form, like the craziness, talks about it going in and out of dimensions. But not only that, it's like it's so hyped up that it'll attack anything and everything. It just sees everything as prey, and like it can't calm down. And which also, like, not to pick on Adrienne too much, but like when she's upset, like it's really hard for her to calm down. Like she almost has to get all that energy out first before she can like think things through sometimes. She's very defensive, like sometimes, or like if there's an exchange going on, like she doesn't really hold back a lot. And even though like her personality, like when you meet her at first, or excuse me, if she doesn't really know you like that, she's super super quiet. But like after the fact, like if something were to happen where somebody was like insulting me online or something, she would just go ham, like all balls out, no questions about it, and not even feel bad. Like it's like 0 to 100 real quick. Which is like some people might see as like a fault, but like for me, it's more so of like a protectiveness. Yeah, I mean she is a Hufflepuff. Like I know this team is very edgy, and I know I've talked about like my brother being a Slytherin and my husband, and a lot of people being a Slytherin. And I think if you like were just to kind of see her and see how alternative she looks, you'd probably assume that she's a Slytherin too, but she's actually a Hufflepuff. Like she's a big baby. You know, it's just like not a lot of people get to see that side of her, so people make like these real quick assumptions and stuff. But like it's different, and I say that because like, you know, we talk about Gengar's anger and stuff. But also like you like with this team you have to remember like Duskull is like the center focus. So for me, Duskull like sees these other ghost Pokemon and sees that like, you know, they're becoming part of this team, but it wrangles them. You know what I'm saying? Like even if they're being mischievous and they want to pick on people, I feel like Duskull is the team leader, not team leader, but even the one that says, hey, no, this is what we're going to do. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's a cute position considering like how big and scary Haunter and Gengar are, and then how big and scary Haunter and Gengar are. And then you see this like little floaty like skull thing kind of just reminding them to stay in their place and stay in their lane, you know? And I think that's really cute. Also, Gengar has like another mystery element to it, because even its like Gigantamax form, it talks about like people, if you're close to its mouth, like it's a gateway to the underworld, right? There is this dimensional thing about it. It's an alternate reality. It's something that people don't know or people don't understand. There's also a Pokedex entry, like one random one saying it used to be a person, and it tries to find a companion by killing them. I didn't really put a whole lot of weight in that one. That was like kind of random, I think, in Sun and Moon. But like I said, like it's these classic ghost Pokemon that have this like interdimensional quality about them. But Duskull is there to literally keep like the darkness at bay, which I think is really cute. So anyway, she's at Lavender Town. She's trying to figure this mystery out, and like obviously, it turns out that the ghost that's haunting the area is a Marowak that used to be Cubo's mother. She figures that out, and she's like, okay, well, you know, that's fine, but I was looking for something with a little bit of higher pay grade than that, you know? Um, or like something, she's like, it's not enough. It's like not a big enough itch to scratch, right? So she's trying to look around and trying to find other people that are like her, you know, other people who are interested in this kind of stuff. And she's trying to find someone to work with because obviously she wants to learn more about mysteries and stuff, but wants to work on her own skills too. So I think the next perfect part for Adrienne, and this is like literally like if she had to pick an imaginative city for her to live in, I think this would be the perfect one. So, but that city is in Johto, and I don't know how many of you remember this, and I'm going to butcher the pronunciation this whole time, and I'm really sorry. Like I'm really really sorry. But Yucatec City, it's in Johto, and it's home to the ghost type gym leader, the first ghost type gym leader, Morty. And Morty is fine, okay? Let's just say he had an old icky like outfit that was just blue and lame, and then he got a redesign, and he is fine. He looks like the kind of guy Ada would actually date, you know, skinny ghost boy. But he also has this big fascination with legends, and part of it's because his town has its own legend in it too. Um, his town is where the burnt tower is, and that's where the legendary dogs live in the game, and like you can summon them or whatever. But this is like his hunt is to learn more about the legendary birds and the legendary dogs in Johto, right? Um, what's also really cool about this town too is that it's actually where the kimono dancers live, and I don't know, like again, I don't know how if you guys remember playing these games, but the kimono dancers are literally like set up in this dance studio, and they each have an EV, and you can battle them, whatever. But it's really funny because not only does Adrienne have this like ghost lore kind of edgy goth girlfriend look kind of going on, but she also used to dance a lot. Like our family loves to dance, period. But Adrienne was on a dance team in high school, and she still loves to go dance and do all this stuff. And like that's a big way to bring out her personality too, especially around strangers. And like it just seems so perfect for her to have like the kimono girl set up right there too, because like also it feeds into this sort of other more outgoing side of her personality where she does like to dance and have fun. But also like they kind of fit this like this whole town's super traditional Japanese, and I feel like the Johto games were more traditionally Japanese, or at least what I as a Westerner would see as traditionally Japanese um as a whole in the game. But this city is very 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 much like old Japan, kimono, like architecture, everything about that. So I think that Adrienne would really enjoy living in this town because she also really enjoys like Japanese culture. She was the one that got me into anime in the first place. Like outside of Pokemon in general, she was the one that really sat me down and did it. And she showed me some really weird ones. I think the first one we watched together was Rosario Vampire or something, which was like just a harem anime. But we started with that, and then like she put me on to Soul Eater, and that's when I was like, okay, I can actually get into this, you know? So she would absolutely fall in love with this town. But also because, and she's there to like kind of be under Morty and learn more from him, not only about like ghost Pokemon now that she discovered like this is her thing, but also about mysteries in the Johto area. But like the thing is, like, even though Morty's all about these legendary Pokemon or whatever, I think she's kind of like, okay, well, I don't really care about like being powerful, if that makes sense. Like, I don't care about these dogs or these birds just because they're like the strongest Pokemon ever. There's an area to the south called the Ruins of Alph, and I think that's where she goes off in this game, where she spends the most time. The Ruins of Alph are basically like this old setup of mysterious caves and stuff, and they looked kind of just like underwhelming in the really old games. But then when they remade them with fourth gen in Heart Gold and Soul Silver, things got a little bit more interesting, obviously, because the graphics were better. But it's basically like a big puzzle maze where you try to find like all these different unknown, and there's 4 different puzzles showing up. You have to rearrange the tiles, and each of those tiles have different messages about them. And I think Adrienne would really enjoy this because the kind of game, like, she plays a lot more video games than I do. I'm very limited to like Pokemon and Animal Crossing, and very like, I don't know, if it doesn't scream girly, I don't play it. Except I also like Mortal Kombat, so that's a lie. But Adrienne plays all sorts of games. Like, she actually has like I think a Twitch. I think that's what it's called. She like does the streaming things with the headphones and all that. Um, but she's super into gaming. She's very into that. But even when we were kids, I remember the games she would play most are like the Nancy Drew puzzle games. Like even with Legend of Zelda, she liked it because there was puzzles. She loves puzzles. She's really, really, really good at it. I remember she would ask me for help when I was a kid just because I knew factual things that you would need to know to solve the puzzle. But when it came to like the logic of it and processing it, like that was all her. And even to this day, when we go to those escape room kind of things, like she leads the way, you know, like in her own quiet way. I know we went with like a big extended family trip, like our grandparents and our cousins and stuff to one, and it was just like chaos because there's too many people in the room, period, trying to tell each other what to do. But I remember Adrienne was kind of mumbling to herself and figuring out, and later on, that's like when I kind of, and I try to do stuff too, but I'm just a big dummy. But she was mumbling things and it made sense. And so literally Garrett and I just kind of like followed her around and did what she wanted us to do. And we ended up solving it just because of her, you know. Douglas is the same way, where he thinks that they have Adrienne and Douglas think the same way when they think about like problem solving and thinking things through. But Adrienne's always been good at that. She's always been the best at that. So I think this would really pique her interest because those puzzles would remind her of like Nancy Drew type games. And she would spend most of her time there. Consequentially, because she spends most of her time there, that's probably where she would encounter an unknown. I don't know which unknown she would want to pick. They're mostly based on the alphabet. Unless you get like the exclamation point or the question mark or whatever. I would assume it would be like a letter in her name, but I'll let that one go up to her. But unknown too, like in terms of lore, is like really interesting because um they they aren't strong in game. Like I tried battling with them before, it was just annoying. Like there's not strong in game whatsoever. It's more so of like a lore Pokemon than it is an actual practical one, in my opinion. But so like obviously it's a psychic type. It doesn't fit with the ghost type theme, but it encapsulates this idea that they can create and manipulate reality. Like obviously we see this in the Pokemon 3 movie where where Molly uses unknown to basically, or not consciously, but they make a reality based on her storybooks and her dreams and like what she wants. And if you think about that in terms of power and possibilities, like of course it's really, really enticing, you know. Um, but and also there's other contexts where like some people think that there's a tech, like it's stated that Arceus basically created the world with his 1,000 arms, and a lot of people speculate this to actually be unknown instead of like actual physical arms or anything like that, because he doesn't even have arms. I think that's part of the irony of his design, but I think the unknown were the tools to make this, and a lot of people point to this idea that unknown represents the script and the code and you know everything that goes into making the video game. It's literally alphabet, it's language, and language can shape your reality, and yeah, all those metaphorical stuff. So that's why. And I think this kind of also fits. I know I've been talking a lot about interdimensional Pokemon, or like what fits reality and what doesn't, and I say this about Adrienne because um like she's always been really imaginative. And I remember she used to write a lot when we were little, especially when we were like going through stuff. Um, and that's how she would express herself. But also it's like, oh, for a lot of people, like writing's an escape sort of thing, or it's like really therapeutic. So obviously that's part of the reason why I think this fits for her. But she's always been the kind of person, and whether this is because she's like Aquarius or alternative or whatever, I think she does really fantasize about like what could be as opposed to like what actually is going on. And like that, again, that's not a shade thing. But she really enjoys video games, and because they tell a story and they're really immersive and they're an opportunity for you to be somebody that you're not in real life, and she enjoys that kind of stuff. She enjoys pretend, she enjoys makeup, she enjoys, being on social media, she enjoys like, I don't know, creating anything artistic. And I think like that's, yeah, that's therapeutic, but also that gives someone the kind of power to be who they want to be, even if they weren't born a certain way, or if they weren't and it's not like people who do that don't like who they are. I'm pretty sure a lot of people who still like play video games or do makeup or whatever actually, they like who they are. And I know she likes who she is, but I think it's part of that play aspect, that dress up, that um that's always been there with her. So the idea of using these creative outlets to manipulate her reality, I think, is really like a streamlined thing in her team. And I don't know, it just makes sense to me. Think about like who she is. And I think that's why unknown fits so well, because it gives her the opportunity to create her own reality, right? Obviously, like she probably only has like one unknown on her team, but that's more of like a symbolic thing about like what's going on in here than it is like her trying to collect all the unknown and like fuck the world and do her own thing. I don't think she's ever had that sort of drive to completely destroy something in order to create something new. Like that's not who she is. That's why she's not a Slytherin. Like that the power thing, like, oh, I like power. Like don't get me wrong. Like that's me. That's all me, but like for her it's not that. It's like just a space of freedom. I think freedom's a good word for it, or like an outlet. And so that's why I think she works well with unknown, and that's why I think she spends so much time in the Ruins of Alf. And I think that's a good self-discovery period for her. Okay, and I think there's this other part too. I'm trying to remember what the scripts say, but basically every after every time you get a certain phrase, and if I remember what they were, I'll put them up here. But it also comes with the idea of like a reality, or like living a certain sort of lifestyle. So I'll flash that up here to kind of highlight my point. But basically, after this goes on, I think she returns to Morty and like is basically ecstatic and tells him, "Hey, boo, this is what I did. Wow, I'm like Indiana Jones in this, Nancy Drew in this. Like, wow, look at that." So basically, he's real proud and he's like, "Wow, my ghost queen, my goth girlfriend, I love it." And so he decides to gift her with Mischievous, which is also another member of her team. And I think this is a cute pick because obviously Mischievous comes from Johto. The evolution doesn't come till much later, which isn't that cute anyway. Mischievous is adorable. But like what's funny about Mischievous is that it's another mischief Pokemon. It's another Pokemon that like messes with you. So it will follow you around in the shadows and then like try to scare you either with a weird moaning crying sound, or it will try to literally pull your hair. Like hair is a big focus around this Pokemon, like even in the design, but it'll try to pull your hair and it like literally feeds off of people's fear, right? And again, I think again this fits Adrienne so good. Like I'll show a bunch of pictures, but Adrienne and I both, we change our hair a lot, but she's always taken pride in like having really long hair, really out there, really colorful. Like hair is such a big part of her identity. She even has this big ass wig. It's just crazy and curly and gold. Hair is part of Adrienne's identity. It's part of her thing, and I think that it still has the same mischievous spirit as like Gengar and Haunter, where it wants to pick on people for survival. It's antagonistic. It's in your face. I think that that's still very much there in her personality, but like Duskull is still the figure to reel it back, being like, yes, it's fine to do this. It's fine to be individualistic. It's fine to sometimes be like vocal when you're upset, or fight back when you need to. But it also says like, hey, we're not going to misbehave. We're not going to do this. We're going to be part of this team. It's really anchors it. So I think Mischievous fits for aesthetic reasons. It's really cute, obviously really feminine. And I think it fits the team and the personality really well. And I also think it's real fun because I think part of the reason she likes these Pokemon too is because when we had the GameCube out, that was when I was really into Pokemon Coliseum and like the Gale of Darkness game, the XD Gale of Darkness, and I know both of them are in that game. And when you see their 3D sprites and their movement and their models, it's really, really cute and really, really pretty. And I think that's the first time she saw that too. So like having that impression on you when you're a kid and like being like, oh my god, I love these. I think it's still translated with her today, which is really, really cool to see that, because like their 3D models are really cute. But yeah, so we have 5 Pokemon so far, and everything seems pretty fitting. But what about the last one? You know, how in the world does Adrienne run into a Mewtwo? That's a great question. In the games, technically you go back to Kanto to go to Cerulean Cavern. And that is where Mewtwo lives, and you can only go in there after you beat the Elite Four and things like that. But the thing is like, Adrienne, if she has a mono ghost team, is not going to beat the Elite Four. I'm sorry. Like, it's just not gonna happen. It's not fitting, and nor, like, she already kind of dropped out of that challenge. She's not interested in that. She's interested more on the mystery aspect of things and being Nancy Drew and finding this idea of, you know, the mystery and looking for the unknown, right? Like, literally unknown. So I think instead it might be one of those things that's either accidental or something where she does try and go out and find Mewtwo on her own, and maybe she's just sneaky about it and she uses her Pokemon to sneak around the guards at the Cerulean Cavern or whatever to get to him. But again, I find that unlikely. Like, in my gut instinct, I think in this story, it's a complete accident. You know, like a happy accident. And I think the best parts of life are happy little accidents, personally. But I think Mewtwo, if we're going to pick, I think we're going to go with the route that Mewtwo did in Detective Pikachu. I don't know how many of you have seen that movie. I love that movie a lot. It's a kid's movie, yeah, so it's dated, but they did it well. They did it so well for like a remake of an anime, like a live action thing. They did well. But Mewtwo's in there because it's hiding around the Pokemon. Like, Mewtwo naturally doesn't really trust human beings at all because it's been really hurt, and experimented on and like all these horrible things. So it lives off in the forest, but it does reveal itself when it needs to after a human's earned its trust, right? And I think that Adrienne's going to be that kind of person too, because Adrienne's always been good with people who are considered outsiders, you know, and because she knows what it feels like to be labeled as an outsider herself for like various personal reasons that I'm not going to air on the internet because it's not my story to tell. But she does empathize with people who are different, and this has always been, even in like you know, people who are online and who don't have a lot of friends, or it's also been like, you know, when we were in high school and there was kids in like special needs classes and stuff, and obviously they were othered, you know, because that's what human beings do. Adrienne was always someone that was kind to them and like talked to them and spent time with them, hung out with them, like did music class with them, and you know, she is really kind, and I think that hardcore exterior puts a lot of people off, but deep down, like, she's just filled with kindness. She would never purposely hurt somebody just because they were different or just because they didn't fit in. Like, she always tries to get the time to at least give somebody the chance or to get to know somebody, you know. She's not really that judgmental because she's been on the receiving end of that. She knows what that feels like, and it's not fair to do to other people. And I think that's why she would be accepted by Mewtwo right away, is because like he would see her and feel not just accepted though, but like Adrienne wouldn't seek him out to be powerful. You know what I'm saying? I think she likes Mewtwo because he looks edgy, B, he's like this dark dude. C, like everybody, you know, everyone knows Mewtwo. Who doesn't like Mewtwo? Like, it's a cool Pokemon, it's a cool concept. But I think, like I said with the unknown, like, she's not interested in conquering the world with this team the same way Giovanni was, right? She's not interested in engineering something different or new or like hurting people to get her way. It's more so of like taking the darkness, or taking, not necessarily darkness, but you know, taking what's there, the mysteries that are already there, and trying to understand them, right? Trying to be more empathetic and trying to understand them so that she could better understand herself. That's why Mewtwo would, you know, if she's out and about looking for him, I think he would make himself known to her. I think there's enough Pokemon that can vouch for her. She kind of has a team of misfits, in a way, and I think that's beautiful, and I think that's why Mewtwo, although it's a legendary, is still like an organic fit for her, and it fulfills like this idea of like this is what all the work has been led to. You know, that's what all of her work, trying to like find mysteries, understand reality, understand like where people are coming from. It's kind of like this monumental moment for her. I know that her team is all psychic and ghost type Pokemon. And normally, when you have a character like that, you would probably write them off as NPC. Especially if you are a woman, you'd probably, in the Pokemon universe, and this was your team, you'd probably be a Hex Maniac. A Hex Maniac is a ghost type trainer class. I think that came in Gen 3. And it's not like they used to have ghost type trainers, but they were channelers, like the ghosts came to possess them or whatever. And but they're like old ladies. Adrienne's not an old lady. So the Hex Maniac is like, again, it's a girl that's obsessed with the occult. Again, you know, her team kind of points to that. But also it's like possessed in the idea of obsession. Like she's obsessed with this, and like the cartoon kind of shows like the hands and like a very like goth kind of like outfit. And if you look up like a Hex Maniac girl online, you're gonna see a lot of like inappropriate stuff. Like big goth girlfriend vibes, and like, you know, that's how outsiders refer to Adrienne, but I really don't think this is her. Even though it might be kind of funny for her to retire and be like that kind of NPC, but that seems like kind of anticlimactic to me. So I don't know. I think she could easily become a ghost type gym leader, and she might be one that's like an early stage ghost type gym leader because she would probably use Duskull and Mischievous, and you know, maybe her Haunter and Gengar would be like, if she was like in the middle range of a gym leader, that might be a little bit more manageable. She could always fall back on that and just like leave her unknown and Mewtwo like a mystery just for her own thing, because obviously if people saw that, they try to like come after her, or like, I don't know, maybe it's more like a self-discovery thing than something to flaunt for everybody. I don't know. So, but she could easily be a ghost type gym leader. She could probably take over for Morty if she wanted to, although I think Morty, see, yeah, he's fourth. So yeah, it would make sense if they were in the same kind of thing. Maybe she takes over for him. Maybe she does her own thing. Or maybe she keeps trying to find more mysteries and like she just wants to build a team beyond this. Or I thought it'd be really cool too if like she were to kind of not retire, but like become a Pokemon professor. You know what I'm saying? We haven't really had a whole lot of Pokemon professors. Like, I mean, they focus on lore and stuff too, but in stories, I know in Galar they did a lot of like history things, and she could easily be a. And they had professors for like Ultra Beasts and like the Dream World and other dimensional stuff too. And those tended to be female professors, right, who would explore that sort of concept of what is reality. So I think it would really fit Adrienne really well if she was a professor. And we don't really see the professors really like have a whole lot of their own Pokemon, or if they do, it's like a couple of them. They don't really have their own team. But I think it'd be great for a professor to have a ghost type Pokemon. And I don't think we've had that yet. There's like a ghost type specialist Pokemon professor, you know, which I don't see why not. I mean, maybe it reads a little bit more of like ghost adventurer kind of thing instead of science, but like you had someone focus, right, have like a Muna or Musharna and talk about dreams, so why not? So we can also end it on the fact that Adrienne can turn into a Pokemon professor, which might be super interesting for her, and I think she would like that. You know, it's a little bit more chill. And that way she could keep doing what she liked, working on her puzzles, working on her mysteries, and not necessarily like trying to challenge the Elite Four or anything like that. So yeah, that's Adrienne's team. I had a lot of fun putting together this one too, because for me it was like a bridge between Garrett's and my mom's. But I really, really think it fit Adrienne to a T, and I think that I learned a lot more about her when I was doing this team. You know, February is always kind of hard because I'm away from home and I'm not really around for my sibling's birthday, and I was definitely like a lot more emotional and like not depressed, but February hits hard. It's a hard month. Like, so I think I was definitely more emotional when I was filming the other video. Today, like, I'm in a much happier place just in general, so I'm not gonna cry on camera. I don't think so, but you know, I still miss Adrienne a lot. But yeah, so this is Adrienne's video, and I hope she enjoys ending up being a Pokemon professor extraordinaire. I think it'd be such a fun development for her to kind of go about the same sort of changes in self-discovery um, that Sonia did. That's kind of style I picture for her. Especially since Sonia was so girly too. Like I think it would like, and oh my god, her nails and like Adrienne's. I remember seeing that. I thought of Adrienne because Adrienne's got like these big old nails all the time that are always done, and I don't know. I saw a lot of parallels too, and like even Agatha, she's a ghost type gym leader, and I know she did research projects with like Professor Oak, but I don't think she's like a certified Pokemon professor, like giving people Pokemon when they first start out. So hopefully, if there's like a new region or something, I know like we live in USA, so you would think it would be based in Unova or whatever, but I think Adrienne like deserves her own sort of region for this kind of stuff. I don't know. I think that'd be really fitting, and I think she would like it. So yeah, I hope Adrienne enjoyed this video. I miss you a lot, and I love you so much, and I love the fact that um, I have such a strong, protective little sister, even though sometimes people get those roles reversed. Adrienne, I love you, and I miss you. I hope you're watching this. And for everybody else who's watching, thank you so much for watching this video on my channel. I know I've had a lot of really personal content lately. I'm going to switch that up and I'm going to film a video about some Pokemon merchandise, so stay tuned for that. And until next time, thanks. Bye.